Very good morning, class. Hope you guys have understood the various matrices available in strategic management. Today, I thought I will discuss with you about the growth share matrix that's been given to us by BCG, Boston Consulting Group. I have been talking about this for a while with you guys, and to give you more insights about this, let me share a PPT with you. This PPT will give you a greater understanding about what this matrix is all about. Now, let's see. You'll be seeing now a PPT with the four quadrants in it. In the x-axis, we see the market share, the relative position of the organization that belongs to an industry. And in the y-axis, you see the business growth rate. Both are termed in high and low, high and low. So now when you look at this picture, you have a fair understanding. We are talking in terms of the growth rate that is happening in industry, the kind of position or market share that particular organization is having in that industry. So in these perspectives, we are going to discuss our positioning in the marketplace called as growth share matrices. If you look at the four quadrants, let us start from the left extreme, that is cash cow. And on the top of it, we see high business growth rate, relatively less market position or market share. We see a star. To the right of it, we see high market share and low market growth, probably a mature industry. We see a question mark. At the right extreme, we see a dog. Here, the business growth rate has almost come to a saturation stage or maybe in a stage of decline. And the share of that particular position or share of that particular organization is almost very low. This positioning is called as low. Now, should we be looking at this particular matrices? Let us consider an organization where they have portfolio of businesses. They are into various SBUs. The top rung executives of the organization decide where they have to pay attention, where exactly the strategists should look into, where their resources should be deployed. Now, should we consider cash cow? How do we understand this? Here, the market position, the meaning is your market share is very high, while that particular business growth in that industry is not growing anymore. It has come to a stage of a saturation, but you have a very high market share in that particular industry. That positioning can be called as a cash cow. The meaning is you don't have to invest any further into the business, but you would be making the best use of your investment made all these years, and you'll be getting revenue year after year after year. So you have already consolidated your businesses. That business can be called as a cash cow, where that particular business helps you in sustaining in that industry as well as a company as a whole. Now let us move towards the star. So when we see star, we understand in terms of business growth rate. That business is growing. In the life cycle of an industry, that particular industry is fairly new. They are yet to occupy the markets. They are yet to educate the customers. They are yet to capture the population. So that particular market is growing. But unfortunately, you have a less market share. Now, what happens? In case you have a high market share, what happens? Now, let's look into the possibility of your market share is very high. Simultaneously, fortunately for you, even in the growth rate of a business where it is growing tremendously high, even in that, you have a good market position. When you have a good market position, the meaning is you have to reinvest in that particular industry because any industry that is growing needs heavy amount of investments. So what is that you need to do? You have to play an important role in developing that particular SB, that particular industry you are envisaging in where you have got a better market share. That particular quadrant, what we call here is a star, where you have to invest. I was talking about another possibility of where we see market share is very low, but the growth is tremendously high. What should we say? Your relative position in that place is low, whereas the market is growing. In such cases, you have to take a position, you have to take a call. Would you like to be in that businesses? Since you have a lesser market share, would you be in that businesses, sustain in that businesses, invest and grow? Or you can take a call, let me leave these particular businesses, let me get into other areas where my core is highly operative. So you'll be taking such a call. Many times it so happens you can take either of the call that suits your business interests. At times organization, they stay put, though they have a lesser share, they stay put, they increase the share over a period of time, but they need deep pockets to do so. Certain organization, they look into the dynamics of the market, they decide that they are not interested to stay in that businesses or in that industry anymore. They leave and they divest. Now let us come to the last leg of our quadrant called as a dog. Here, the growth of the particular business is also very low. Your market share is also very low. It's almost like a lose-lose position or a situation. It would be appropriate for the leader of the organization, for the strategist of the organization to liquidate that business as early as possible. The more you stay in that particular businesses, the collateral damage that is going to happen to you will be very high. So you may have to leave that particular businesses and you have probably look for a diversification. So here, when we talk about BCG Matrix, Boston Consulting Group Matrix, we are talking in terms of the relative position or the market share of an organization vis-a-vis the business growth rate of an industry. You have a high market share and low market growth, it's cash cow. You have high market share and high market growth, then it is called a star. When you have a low market share with a high growth of industry, it is called as question mark. When the business growth rate as well as the market share is low, it is called as dog. So it is also called as the portfolio matrices. It talks in terms of how attractive is the market and what are our competitive strengths so that we can hold on to our business portfolios. Now, let me provide you with examples. Let me provide you with examples of an organization so that it becomes much more relevant, much more easier for us to contemplate on. To make it much easier, I have taken an organization, ITC, Indian Tobacco Company. Now, if you look at the market share and market growth, I have put here the FMCG, the cigarettes, as their cash cow. The company was known as BTC once upon a time. The British Tobacco Corporation later on became an Indian Tobacco Corporation, known for cigarettes. Cigarettes is the generator of revenue for the organization, a major generator of revenue for the organization. Now, should we be looking into the stars, that is high market growth and high market share, the ITC hotels, their paper boats, packaging organizations, packaging companies, and agribusinesses are doing extremely well in the dynamics of the whole industry. Lots of money is required to invest in that particular businesses. So organizations see to that they take their best of the revenues from the cash cow to build their star. Now there are a couple of FMCGs where the competition is very intense. The companies like Hindustan Lever, organizations like Procter and Gamble, organizations like PepsiCo and the Coca-Cola have come into their businesses, making it very stringent in terms of operations, in terms of competition. So ITC has to take a call, should they be there in that particular businesses or not? So it's a question mark. They can take either of the call, as I've already mentioned. They can either sustain there, have deep pockets, invest, stay put, build market share, or they can always divest. Now, when we talk about the dogs in ITC, it's the ITC Infotech. This ITC Infotech initially was, or we can say, it came into existence to support the other SBUs of ITC. They were not very prominent, like let us say TCS or Infosys or Wipro or Cognizant. No, they were not. They were basically into supporting their own organizations. So they don't have a great hold, or we can say a lot of new competitors have come in, whereby they are making their profits much lesser. So this is what we would like to understand what BCG Matrix is all about. I hope I have driven home the point. Should you be having any doubts in this regard, I would appreciate you to talk to me directly, or you can always write to me. Now, what probably you think would be the limitations of this particular BCG matrix? It's always important that we understand any theory for that matter has its own flip side too. It's not necessarily it always wins. It has its own flip side. What probable flip side this particular the kind of a BCG matrix has? That is very important for us to really understand. And also it is important that we pay attention to these limitations. Here we are assuming the growth rate, but actually we don't know. Based on the past couple of years of track, we understand this is the growth rate. A firm may grow the market or not, we don't know. A dog may be helping the other products indirectly. So we can't always say that the dog is something that we have to take it off from our matrices. High market share and growth is not only the success factor, there are various critical success factors associated with the organization for its successes. So we can't say only this portfolio matrices. There's always a linkage between the market share and profitability that is highly questionable. So these are the certain limitations that is there for BCG. But as I said, every theory is purely based on our understanding, our presumption, our experiences. It's always better that we know the flip side of a theory also, so that in case we face certain circumstances that we can't face, we can also look into the limitations and we can take decisions from there. I hope I have driven the point to the class, and I would appreciate if you can work on this and come back to me. Thank you, guys.